Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's Brave Cat here once again with another Frontier Signals update. So I'm not trying to make these every other day right now, but, just some things have been coming up. There is some pretty good things to cover here. Definitely just right off the bat here, I do want to just mention Observer Ranch because this place is pretty awesome. I've been here a few times and it is quite a lovely campground with so much more to offer. Especially if you're a prepper, especially if you want to develop some skills and, meet other people. This is definitely the place to be. So I'm going to be trying to go over here, sometime towards the end of May. There's always all sorts of events going on over here, and it's a, pretty awesome place to check out. Even, plenty of people that have come here that aren't necessarily part of this community, give it really good reviews because it's fairly priced. It has really good facilities, and it's just really well done. So with that being said here, we'll just kind of roll into things. So space weather has been pretty quiet, at least in terms of the solar flares. Those have been almost dead silent. We can see these little spikes in the data feed going down. Those are becoming more and more slim, meaning we are coming out of eclipse season, so every day the satellites get blocked temporarily, causing those little dips in the feeds, but those are getting less and less, and we can see we almost hit G1 solar storm conditions purely off of just some coronal holes. So we can see the plasma speed went up quite a bit here just in the last several hours. And if we scroll down here, we can see those coronal holes now. So they've already started to turn away, but it takes a couple days for those to actually reach us. And in terms of sunspots, there's really not much going on here. We've got that one region that came in, not too big, and then there's potentially another region down here, it looks like. So we can just take a look at the magnetogram stuff here. I'm still glad all the SDO feeds are working right now, so that's pretty nice. Looks like there actually is a sunspot group right here. Doesn't really... Yeah, it doesn't actually really seem to appear as a bright active region, so... But it does have a fairly dense, little umbral core right there, but not much going on, and it looks like we do have something just barely coming in on the far side there, so we can take a look here. Looks like it's most likely this little orange region right here. Everything on the edge here is just about to turn in, and then it looks like on the far side we do have another little set of spots over here potentially. But yeah, we have almost hit a G1 storm based off of purely the coronal hole stream, which, to be fair, it is 3 distinct regions here. One of them directly was facing us, so actually not really too surprising that has happened. So that's basically what we got going on there. Okay, so when we take things to earthquakes, things seem to kind of be developing the way I was thinking it would in terms of the West Coast. So things are starting to escalate a little bit just in terms of how much movement is actually happening in the plate itself. So, just in the last 24 hours, which is not much time, we have pretty much equidistantly spread activity going all throughout up and down this entire region. So the entire subduction zone here is on the move, definitely. And that easily reflects here on the slow slip tremor map, where today we have a grand total of almost 800 events. Okay, now we're starting to get into, territory where, things are moving. And if it suddenly comes to a creeping halt, then, that is likely going to mean things could easily build up for something bigger to happen. And we can see, some 4s kind of creeping in on the North Pacific. And overall, things over here quieted down just a little bit. Now we have a ton of tremors at Hawaii, which is mostly just alongside the volcanic activity. And then the tremors over here have only gotten bigger, especially when we look at south side of California. It's just a very large region that has these tremors. And again, it goes all the way up the coast. And then even over here in Utah, which is interesting. And then down here in Texas, which again is ongoing. And I can show you exactly why, more or less exactly why these tremors are striking these locations. So we've had the stuff going on over here and the stuff going on over here, but now we have the very corner of New Mexico and Texas right here. So I looked at that area because I haven't looked at this area specifically, I don't think. And, I punched in the coordinates. They're right here. And if we take a look, you'll just be able to see right off the bat as we zoom in. Okay, well, I wanted it to actually zoom in, but I guess we'll just do it manually. So even just here, you can see how many drill points are over here. So again, this is very heavy on oil and gas drilling. So, it's like, it almost makes me speechless how many drill points are over here. It doesn't even look like a habitable area over here. It's like, it is crazy how many oil jacks are in this area, which, I'm not totally against oil and gas, but I'm just, kind of piggybacking off of some of the research that Dutch Sense has done, and this is some of the stuff that I think he is absolutely 100% spot on about, with no shadow of a doubt, that these drill points, they cause perforations in the crust, and they don't inherently by themselves cause the earthquakes. The thing is, the seismic energy is like a separate thing that comes in here, and it wants to find the path of least resistance. And you can just, not even be able to fathom how many drill points are in this area. And this goes miles and miles and miles of this stuff. So, it is definitely something that is affecting the tremor activity and the way that seismic pressure spreads, which, the silver lining there is that it is actually relieving the earthquake pressure. So, it actually, in that sense, it does technically kind of help a little bit. But then it also causes other things to break sometimes. So we can see amongst the tremors here, we sometimes get larger events. So there's a 3, still not too big, but, it does allow for those breakages to happen eventually when enough movement and enough tremors happen. So that is exactly why we see so much activity going on in these areas. And even down here, I'm sure is probably a similar story. I guess I can just pull that up as well. So is this actually, okay, yeah, this is still in Texas. Let me just quickly look that up here. So, I would guess that it's pretty much the same story down here, more or less. Maybe not as many drill points. Looks like we are close to a lot of farmland. You don't actually see a lot right off the bat. Haven't looked at this area before, but sure, there's got to be something going on around here. So we could have some potential pipelines going on here. And, with how the Google Map images here probably aren't exactly updated. So, they could have come in here with a whole bunch of other drill points after the last update on the map. But we do have a very large solar farm here, and that is the other kind of line of research that I'm starting to, seems to be kind of proving itself as well, that electrical generation and just the general production of very low frequencies can also impact where earthquakes are likely to strike. So, those are just two things that's just based off of simple observation. seem to be very much correlated. So that is what's going on in the US. Definitely things are just kind of slowly progressing here. And on the tremor map, we can see up in this chart, it has just been going up and staying consistent. So when we take things back a little bit further, we see all these old 5s pretty much all throughout the Pacific. You know, that's regular. And then it's been quiet in the last 24 hours. But we've had all these extra deep events going on all the way even up here to Japan. So, you know, we're probably just going to get another round of 5s in this area. But, you know, hopefully nothing bigger than that. It doesn't look like it anyways. And taking a look at things in Europe, we've got yet again the same spot over here in Greece, which, you know, I might actually try to look that area up as well. Although I'm sure this is going to bring up the EMSC, which, you know, doesn't actually bring up the individual earthquake. So we just have to hope that it's on this map here, which, no, it's not. So that's the one really annoying thing, is that you have to actually sort through all these things. So I'm just going to pull it up. So yeah, I'm not actually really too sure why there's so many ongoing events going on over here. You know, it's kind of in the middle of the mountain range, but there's no major plate boundaries. There's no really, you know, volcanoes around here. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the business is there. But, you know, it takes us pretty much right in this area here, where, again, we have all these mountain ranges. There's various farms and whatnot. You know, if I had to guess, maybe there could be some quarries going on, or, you know, I'm not exactly sure, but, you know, sometimes it is useful to try to look at what's here and see if we can correlate that to a reason why the seismic pressure is so attracted to this area. Like over here in Western Turkey, where we often see activity here. You know, there's lots of quarries going on over there and different things that could contribute to that. But overall, there really hasn't been anything too crazy there. You know, taking a look back at Italy here, it looks like the swarm over by Campi Flegrei has pretty much calmed down. I mean, it's still kind of there, but I would say this is, you know, basically normal. So yeah, luckily that slowed down. You know, if that enhanced cluster of tremors was going on there for an extended period of time, you know, I would say we could start to see, you know, perhaps some volcanic developments. Taking a look at this chart here, looks like they took off 2026, so we don't actually know what the totals are there. But yeah, so that pretty much wraps it up here. Again, I would highly recommend checking out Observer Ranch. It's pretty awesome. And again, there's all sorts of really cool events going on over here. You got August Dunning, you've got Ethical Skeptic, you know, lots of other people doing events here. And just a lot of, you know, kind of survival stuff, gardening, permaculture, you know, really just a huge variety of stuff. Or you can just camp there for the night, for the week, for, you know, whatever. You can just visit it, see what's up. So anyways, though, that will wrap things up here. I'm going to try to make another push on the work on the website here. You know, I've still been working on the pole shift star map navigation. Again, it has become a little bit bigger of a project than I initially thought, just to tackle that and get it exactly the way I want. So anyways, though, that'll do it for today's update. Hope y'all enjoyed, got something out of it. Please like and subscribe for more, and share this video if you dare. So as always, I'll catch you all in the next.